in this roadmap episode, I want to talk about the idea of why it's so important that you choose your relationships wisely. We're going to get into some really fun statistics and studies. Let's get right into this one. Welcome to 12-Week Relationships. This is your place for better relationships in weeks, not years. My name is Pye. This is another roadmap episode, and because of that, we have excused Dr. Glenn so we can focus on client sessions. Going right into this, well, I want to start with a question. I want you to first guess how many relationships you've created in your life. And it's platonic and romantic. So friendships, everything, just ballpark. Guess how many relationships you have created. Now, these aren't acquaintances. I'm going to actually ask that separately, okay? So first, just relationships. I would put myself probably in the hundreds. The next question is, can you ballpark guess maybe how many people you've met and just briefly gotten to know? Like you exchanged names, you kind of got to know each other a little bit, had a brief conversation with, just a acquaintance type relationship. I would put that number for me maybe in the thousands. As a educator, I do often travel and do speaking arrangements and whatnot. So I have had a chance to meet quite a few people. Because now I'm going to ask this, of all of those people, how many of them are still in your life today within a sort of significant relationship? And that just means I don't mean significant in the sense of they have to be your best friend or they're your lover or whatever it might be. I just mean that they have some sort of place in your life. You know, they're one of the friends that you kind of stay in touch with from time to time. Because as I think about this, well, of the hundreds of relationships that I have created, I can't think of more than, I don't know, a handful, like maybe 10 to 20 that I am regularly in touch with. And when it comes to the people that are in my inner circle, like say my close and best friends, I mean, that number gets even smaller, maybe 5 to 10. If I were to ask Dr. Glenn the same thing, well, he would say that he had the exact same experience. In fact, if we go to our clients, their experiences are no different either. Fortunately, this is one of those topics that, well, science has backed me on this one. In fact, there is a famous British anthropologist. His name is Robin Dunbar. And back in the 90s, he actually published this study. And what he said within this study was essentially that due to human brain size, right? Just our limited cognitive ability, that we're going to be limited at a certain number of relationships. And I'm going to talk about those numbers in just a second, but what we're saying here is that ultimately, of all the people that you're going to meet, of all the relationships that you're going to create, very few of them are going to carry long-term significance. We're going to get into more of the why, and we're going to talk about, what makes us create those relationships and whatnot. But right now, what's important to understand is that you're going to meet thousands of people. Hundreds of them are going to become your friends. And of those hundreds, as you go through life, there's going to be a very small group of them that are going to actually stay. So who you're choosing to engage with, who you're choosing to invest your time and your energy with, this matters. It matters tremendously. Okay, so going back to Robin Dunbar, there are billions of people on this planet. Now, there are different estimates in terms of how many of these people you're going to meet in your lifetime. Previously, we would see studies that might estimate that you're going to meet say 10,000 people in your lifetime, right? Some other estimates that are a little bit more modern, that incorporate kind of modern technology and the ability to travel and communicate via social media, they have bumped that number up tenfold to 100,000. That in your lifetime, you will meet 100,000 people. Who knows? But what Robin Dunbar put together was this study that essentially said, and if you're watching the video, we'll put up the little diagram. I created this little diagram of Robin Dunbar's study. And so you'll see this concentric circle. And what he's saying is that on average, a person will create, they'll have roughly around 1,500 names and acquaintances that are kind of stored in their memory, right? And then when you step into friendships, like these are actual relationships of some sort of significance, right? We'll have roughly 150. And then when you step in deeper into, let's say, best friends, and you could label these terms whatever you want to, but I think he was labeling them as best friends. You would have roughly 15. And then close friends, again, kind of like, not really sure semantically the difference between these, but close friends was around 5. And then intimates, which also paired with ego, was at 1.5. I'm not really sure about the 0.5. That part doesn't make too much sense. But what he's essentially saying in this study and in this theory that he released was that due to our cognitive limitations, we're going to be limited to the number of relationships that we can create and maintain at any one particular time. Meaning that for us to be able to have more close friends, we would essentially need bigger brains. And so that's the ultimate limitation on that. This became known as Dunbars Number, this kind of 150 friends, 5 to 15 close to best friends. And it's honestly been widely criticized and challenged since its inception. I like to think of that having more to do with the fact that I think anytime you put specific numbers on something, the scientific community is going to come out and challenge it and be like, well, no, in this case, it's this. And what we're really talking about with Dunbar's number is their averages. So obviously, some people are going to have the ability to have more relationships, some less relationships. But what I don't think, I don't want to say can be challenged because you can challenge anything, right? What I believe holds up in Dunbar's number is the ultimate kind of the underlying truth of what he's saying, that we are limited just from a resource standpoint in terms of how many relationships we can create. And I'll say this, when it comes to my close to best friends, I fall kind of right within these numbers. I really can't maintain a connection with more than just a few people at a time. And I find that whenever I'm spending more time with one, I'm kind of forgetting and spending less time with the others. And it's not just spending less time. It's like they're not necessarily on my mind as much. And I find it very unusual. You may have experienced this yourself where, one of your close friends texts you and out of the blue, you're kind of like, oh man, we haven't talked for months, but they are one of your close or best friends. So this happens to me all the time where, things just kind of, they take space in your mind. And when one thing takes space, it bumps the others out. And this is where, again, I go back to this selection of your relationships. If, let's say for me personally, I would say within my inner circle, I can hold space for maybe 5 to 10 people for them to be on my mind regularly. Now, I have my family, so I already have 4 children. I have Yen, my partner. Maybe I can bump the number up to like 20. Okay, so I can hold space for maybe 15 to 20. But then as I extend out, I have my closest friend, Justin, Chris. They're also my business partners. I have Dr. Glenn, who's becoming one of my closest friends and also a business partner. I have their wives. So, on each of them, that's 3 more. I have one of my closest friends from high school and since, Aaron. I'm already counting these numbers. And then I have my mom and my dad. I'm already getting to that number of 20 very, very quickly. And then I have a few other close friends that I really enjoy staying in touch with. What we're saying in this is that each person you bring into this inner circle, when I pull someone into this inner circle, I do so knowing that it leaves me less time, less resources for the people already in that inner circle. That's the important piece that I have to understand, that you have to understand, that with limited resources, each person that you bring into your inner circle, well, it can only take time and energy from the people that are already in it. Okay, so of the thousands of people that you're going to meet, well, 1% of those are going to become friends, if that. if we're talking like these latest studies that are 100,000 plus, then we're talking 0.1% are going to make it into your friendships, right? Okay, so somewhere between 0.1 to 0.01 are going to become significant relationships. They're going to make it to your inner circle. Every single one of those needs to be someone that you value, that you not only value, but that you're willing to say, I'm going to spend my time and energy, I'm going to split my resources between the people that are within that circle because this new addition is that worthwhile to me. There's these sayings, and I'm sure you've heard plenty of these, that you're kind of the average of the 5 people that you're closest to. Again, who cares about the number, right? The 5, the 10, everyone's so fixated on a specific number. The focus of that you are the average, and I don't even like saying that you're the average because once again, that's something that you can argue. Well, no, I can be friends with people, but not. Look, the truth is, whether it's an average, whether it's a number, that you are going to take on the traits and characteristics to some degree of the people that are closest to you. Let's say that the people around you are kind of negative. Maybe they're all people that they like to have a good time, but they're really not that ambitious. They don't really want to grow, and they don't really think highly of the fact that you're trying to do new things and you're trying to expand. Well, their viewpoints, those traits, those characteristics are going to be shared with you. And when you do try to step out and when you do try to do things, they're going to be criticizing you. And vice versa. Let's say you surround yourself with positive people inside of this inner circle. Then the things that you do are going to be things that they're going to support, they're going to uphold. So who you place into this inner circle matters because not only are your time and resources limited, but you're going to take on the traits and characteristics of these individuals as well, at least to some degree. The next natural place that this conversation leads to is, well, why do we choose to create relationships with the 0.1% or with the 0.01% that we place into our inner circle, right? Well, that brings us back to the subject of desire. And if you remember, desire was those perceived benefits of a relationship. When we look at somebody, the respect, the admiration, when we see that we might be relatable, we might be able to understand each other, when there's opportunities for growth and adventure, and there's all these great possibilities for different types of reward. And I'm not speaking monetary reward, I'm speaking just having fun, and it's all the things that you might value, whether it's an intellectual conversation or being able to laugh and joke around, whatever it might be. Those perceived benefits is what creates the desire for, first, just a friendship, and then if it continues, then perhaps a significant relationship where you're pulling them maybe into your inner circle. This is where I'm going to put a pin in this episode. We'll keep it short and sweet because in our next roadmap, I want to go deeper into the subject of desire. In the meantime, well, first, we'd love for you to subscribe to the newsletter if you're not already. You can find the TWR newsletter, or what we call the roadmap, at 12weekrelationships.com. And we promise we will not send out any spam. Honestly, we want to value your time just like we do our own. Nobody has time to sift through junk. So what we send, they're going to be handwritten messages, insightful tips, tricks, ideas that you can incorporate into your daily life. From there, we'd also love for you to join the podcast if you haven't already subscribed. And if you want to help us out, you can jump onto the iTunes store and you can leave us a review. We always say it's nice to see 5-star reviews. If you have any critique or anything less than that, please be sure to DM Dr. Glenn and I. You can find us on Instagram as well as on TikTok. You can message us on Instagram as well if you have ideas for, questions, topics that you want covered. On top of that, on Instagram and TikTok is where you'll find our short videos. These are just bite-sized videos and ideas that are not only interesting, but shareable. So hope you guys enjoyed the episode. We'll see you all next time. Peace.